This is episode number 1 of a regular series of videos I plan to do on BYD. This isn't the first time I've talked about them, but rather than trying to cram all the new information into those old videos, I figure I would come out with updates maybe every couple of months. In America, BYD's cheap vehicles are finally getting the attention they deserve, but not enough is being talked about their premium brands, which are capable of gobbling up market share at the top of the market too. They're terrifying and kind of boring too. I'll explain both in a minute. Now, to kick off each video, I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to remind you of BYD's slogan. It's build your dreams, because I guess I like to try out new special effects. A brief reminder that BYD has two primary businesses. They make electronics as a contract manufacturer of consumer products for other companies, but of course I'm going to focus on their mobility products, passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles. They're doing some light rail systems too, and the batteries that make all their EVs go. Looking at their 2023 annual report, you can see that top-line revenue has been exploding since 2021. And they are profitable at the bottom line. Only they and Tesla can say that. Their automotive business is fueling, or should I say, charging that growth. Automotive-related products now account for 80% of their revenue. That's up. Their stock is traded on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange and the Hong Kong Exchange for international investors. I said earlier that BYD is boring. If they were to ever list their stock on, let's say, the NASDAQ, the meme stock bros would lose their freaking minds. You know who's not a meme trader? Warren Buffett. Berkshire Hathaway recently sold a large portion of their stake in BYD. Like selling off their Apple position, I don't view this as a lack of confidence in the company, but rather a smart, boring profit-taking on stocks that have appreciated tremendously in value. BYD leadership has been doing a great job, but you could say they're boring too. Unlike the CEO of Tesla, what's his name? You know the guy I'm talking about. Even other Chinese EV makers have well-known founder CEOs who are the face of these startups and get lots of attention from American investors. NIO, XPeng, and others are aggressively developing AI systems, but they're struggling to become profitable for their EVs in the current market. BYD is profitable because they make their own batteries and they've achieved massive scale. There have been some benchmarks that point out some really smart design choices, little details, but it all comes down to those batteries, which are the most expensive part of any electric vehicle. Their internal automotive parts production is organized under the name FinDreams, making batteries, including for stationary storage, powertrain components for both battery electrics and for plug-in hybrids, which they also sell. BEVs and PHEVs both fall under the category of new energy vehicles in China. They also make chassis and body components, even plastic moldings. Being vertically integrated only works really well when you have volume, and BYD certainly has that. To feed their growth, let's take a look at their manufacturing footprint. Headquartered in Shenzhen, they now have manufacturing throughout China, and sales of their battery EVs and plug-in hybrids occupy half of the top 10 selling new energy vehicles in China. Elsewhere in the world, I'm going to have to make some kind of chart to keep track of all this, where they sell and manufacture cars, commercial vehicles, electric buses and electric trucks, and more importantly, where they manufacture battery cells, not the complete pack assembly that goes into the car, but the individual LFP battery cells. In Europe, they currently sell 5 different car models with 230 stores in 19 countries. To help build brand awareness, they were the official e-mobility partner of Euro 2024. This comes on the heel of the EU announcing a 17.4% tariff on BYD vehicles. To be clear, this is on top of the existing 10% penalty, so that makes importing battery EVs and PHEVs into Europe more difficult. But for BYD, it's not really going to stop them. BYD has been quietly selling and building commercial vehicles for some time, particularly their electric buses. They have been making them in Hungary, and now they're building a car assembly plant there too. Car production in Hungary is expected to begin late next year, and the 100,000 EVs built there would help them avoid those higher tariffs. They will also assemble battery packs in Hungary, with cells coming in from China. BYD has announced a deal to build a plant in Turkey, adding yet another 150,000 EVs to their capacity. And Turkey has a free trade agreement with the EU to avoid those tariffs. Recently, BYD announced an agreement with Uber to give drivers access to affordable EVs. They estimate up to 100,000 vehicles, beginning in Europe and Latin America, which they define as Central and South America. Going back to the chart, BYD checks off some more markets. The Uber announcement mentions the Middle East, Australia, New Zealand. Do they have the same accent? Anyway, those are markets they already sell EVs in. But it also mentions Canada, eh? That would be a new market for them. But the full announcement is pending a final decision out of Ottawa on tariffs. Canada is almost certain to follow the US and Europe by raising tariffs paid on Chinese EVs, but it's not clear just how high they will go. BYD opened its assembly plant in Thailand with an annual capacity of another 150,000 units. Thailand has attracted several foreign automakers who plan to export cars to other ASEAN member countries. Indonesia is an ASEAN member country, and they're getting a BYD plant of their own, another 150,000 vehicle capacity expected in 2026. BYD has a joint venture to assemble plug-in hybrids in Uzbekistan. The capacity is only 50,000 vehicles. That will mostly be sold in Central Asia, including Russia, where Western automakers abandoned that bleep show. Earlier this year, I became fascinated with the India car market. You could check out those videos. BYD already sells there, but their cars get hit with an import tax. They would like to build there. India recently revised its import rules to attract EV manufacturers to manufacture in the country. All indications were that Tesla was close to a deal. But then Elon canceled his trip to India. Instead, he flew to China seeking approval to offer FSD there. Damn it. I said I wasn't going to talk about Elon in this video. Let's get back to BYD. They sell both commercial vehicles and now passenger cars in South America. A car assembly plant is under construction in Brazil, adding another 150,000 units coming online in early 2025. There were plans for a cathode plant in Chile, but that got put on hold. The cathode is the expensive part of a lithium-ion battery, and Chile is one of the world's largest miners of lithium. But what about here? I did a video on that. BYD already sells EVs and PHEVs in Mexico, and they manufacture electric buses there too. Expect them to finalize a plant location in Mexico after the US elections. Regardless of who wins, they'll build a plant, even if they end up shipping cars to other markets other than the US. I already told you about the Uber deal where they said they would sell in Canada, and they also make electric buses in the Great White North, but never in the US. Well, they're already here. They already assemble trucks and buses in the US. I would expect BYD to be patient about entering the US electric vehicle car market. If the environment isn't right, they'll wait. Paying the new 100% tariff, it's technically 102.5%, but who's counting? That would be stupid. And to be clear, the language of the release from the White House says it covers EVs, which historically has covered both battery electrics and plug-in hybrids. So all the vehicles they manufacture currently would get covered by that. But if they imported EVs from Thailand, Indonesia, Brazil, one of these new plants I keep talking about, what then? If they make them in Mexico, they'll need to have a regional content value of 75%, meaning that 3/4 of the value of the car was made in either Mexico, Canada, or the US. That would be difficult if it's a battery electric, assuming they ship the battery cells in from China, but maybe not impossible with some creative accounting. Not as hard if it's a PHEV that has a smaller battery. Going back to the chart one more time, all of their battery production is still in China. There are some places where they are stuffing batteries into a fully assembled pack for the car, but as of now, cell manufacturing remains in China, close to all of its component supply chain. That's China's real advantage, the processing of the minerals and making them into components that go into each battery cell. People outside China are starting to wake up to just how affordable BYDs are, but they make more than just cheap EVs. The BYD Ocean series is targeted at younger buyers. They have marine inspired styling and names like Seagull, Dolphin, and Seal. The Dynasty series is a little more formal, more upscale, but they're still able to undercut the competition on price. Then we get to vehicles that are much more premium, and they should terrify established luxury brands. Denza was established with Mercedes-Benz, but BYD now owns most of it. Their cars do some really cool tricks. Fengcheng Bao, excuse me if I said that wrong, you can compare them to Land Rover, Land Cruiser, or other high-end Jeeps. And Yongwang is just stupid cool. All of them use BYD batteries, which are lithium iron phosphate or LFP chemistry, which is typically considered the cheap battery, but BYD is showing that that chemistry can be offered in premium EVs and plug-ins too that are combined with a gasoline engine. There are some new models and details about their dual-mode powertrains I'd like to get into, but let's keep this episode short. I'll save those details for the next one. How about you hit that like and subscribe button? Check out my video on the BYD Shark. I'm proud of the intro. There are lots of Chinese EV manufacturers, but BYD is the one that should keep other automakers awake at night. Thanks for watching.